everyone and welcome back guys to episode 10 of my F1 2017 McLaren Honda career mode guys, and today we are here for my home Grand Prix, yes, the British Grand Prix, and hopefully we can get a good result. We're really sort of within long overdue a good result in this series. I think the last time we scored points was back at Monaco, and since then we had a retirement at Canada, a 16th place retirement, I think it was at Baku, where we sort of just came in with a couple of laps to go, and then a 16th place in the Austrian Grand Prix there. So it's been a tough few races recently, and really, although I don't see us scoring points anytime soon again, I would quite like to be fighting with a few more cars during, my home Grand Prix. We'd really like to, outperform the car, and I have heard a rumour that you may get contract offers at the halfway point of the season as well, so perhaps, we could get something to do with that as well. But, moving on into the British Grand Prix, and I'm really trying to be a bit more strategical with the way I use my engines at the moment. So for free practice, we are obviously going to go back onto a load of worn parts here. We've got the, is that the, there's the ICE, yeah, the internal combustion unit there. We're going to go back onto that, and that's nearly at like 80% wear or something ridiculous. So, we're going back on to all these shredded parts. Sort of don't really want to have to face too many penalties towards the end of the season, but there's no doubt about it. With gearboxes as well, we're going to end up using probably 5 or 6 engines, I'd imagine, by the end of the season. But we might as well, use these shredded ones whilst we've got the opportunity. It won't cost us anything in the long run either. All these engine parts we can't really use for races, so we might as well use them now in, free practice sessions. But hopefully, that can work out. It does really cost you just a little bit when it comes to R&D, and talking about R&D, we desperately need some to try and get some upgrades on the car over the next few races. And obviously, as you know, the best way to earn R&D is obviously to do the free practice programs. And coming through to end my track acclimatization lap, they're going to get the green score, a mix of purples and reds really. They're very wet conditions at Silverstone this weekend. Obviously the British weather being as usual, and we get the purple score on the fuel saving one if I'm not mistaken there. So, yeah, a little bit of an interesting free practice there. We did do a couple of others, but unfortunately we just missed out, unfortunately there. So only 124 R&D points there, and really, I don't want to have to focus on getting, like, durability upgrades and stuff. We desperately need some performance upgrades on the car. But coming to the end of my qualifying run there, P5 provisionally in the session, which I thought, was pretty decent at that moment in time. I was quite happy with that lap. It felt pretty good. So as we skip towards the end of the session there, you can see we are quicker than Pascal Wehrlein and Marcus Ericsson there, which was comfortable signs towards the end of qualifying for my home Grand Prix here. But then, as we skip towards the end of the session, less than a minute remaining now, and suddenly, unfortunately there, the Saubers and my teammate Van Dorn all just suddenly went quicker than me, which was a little bit gutting there. Not really much time separated us, but talking about not much time separated, Lewis Hamilton, Kimi Räikkönen and Sebastian Vettel there, the top 3 separated by a 40th of a second. But as I said there, Van Dorn, Ericsson and Wehrlein all were able to jump me right at the end of qualifying there, which is a little bit annoying, I'm not going to lie. But hopefully, we can have a solid race here at my home Grand Prix, the British Grand Prix.
Ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. Sebastian Vettel has a clear track ahead of him today. He starts in pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Räikkönen, Bottas, Lance Stroll and Verstappen, Perez, Massa, Ocon and Nico Hülkenberg, Palmer, Grosjean, Kevin Magnussen and Ricciardo, Kvyat, Sainz, Stoffel Van Dorn and Marcus Ericsson, Wehrlein and a McLaren rounds off the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track.
So here we are then guys on the grid, ready for the British Grand Prix here, and Jeff just telling me not to take any unnecessary risks down towards turn 1 here. But yeah, a little bit annoyed in the end that we were only able to qualify, well, I say only able to qualify in P20 there, and it should be still a fairly textbook one-stop Grand Prix here. Try and take the super softs nice and long in the first stint here. Not going to try and opt to go for an alternate strategy here today. Sort of want to fight with cars a little bit more. But ready then for the British Grand Prix here at Silverstone, the race that everyone always wants to win. It's 5 lights on the grid, and it's a lights out, and away we go. And actually off to one of the best starts I think I've ever had on F1 2017 there, next to 0 wheel spin there, but Pascal Wehrlein all over the shop, down towards turn 1, there were 3 wide with both the Sauber cars, and then it's suddenly a car park there, as I think one of the Red Bulls has damaged their front wing there. Not really too sure what that was all about there. But unfortunately, we got 2 illegal overtakes there, so we have made no gains down at the start of this Grand Prix there. Think about trying to send one up the inside of Pascal Wehrlein there into turn 3 there. Unfortunate, he just turned in, he's rightfully able to do so there because I was going to be going from a long, long way back there. But unfortunately, at the start of this Grand Prix there, we just haven't been able to make up positions after a little bit of car park. You can see already on the mini-map there, I think the sort of top 6, top 7, I think, has already started to make a bit of a breakaway there. But we go right around the outside of Pascal Wehrlein there through the next corner. Turns to the inside throughout this long hairpin turn there. And nice that we've been able to make up 1 position there. Just proving as well how good the Mercedes chassis, the McLaren chassis is relative to the Saubers there. But through the old turn 1, are we going to be able to take it flat out there, running a little bit wide there? Think about, well, we've got a much better run than Marcus Ericsson there, but we can't really use that opportunity there. That'd be a massively unfair advantage. But through the next couple of corners here, we're going to try and go for a bit of an alternate line, go for a bit of a switchback move, if you will. I try and slingshot myself down this long back straight towards the final sector of the lap here and ducked into the slipstream behind the Sauber of Marcus Ericsson. We're going to have a look down the inside in towards the final complex, and yes, we do go down the inside there. Now move up into P18 of the Grand Prix there. And next up on my hit list will be my teammate Stoffel Van Dorn there. Lock up, nearly run into the back of him there. Very, very close to the rear end of my McLaren teammate there. And one of the worst things we could possibly do would be to crash it straight into the back of him. But that's the end of lap 1 of the Grand Prix there. We're up into P18 of the race, so fairly alright there, considering that turn 1, there was no chance to make overtakes there. But we dive it down the inside of Stoffel in towards turn 4 there. Now move up into P17 of the race. Think about having a look around the outside of Danny Kvyat there, but unfortunately we weren't able to make that position stick there. But now up into P17 we go of the Grand Prix, and Kvyat, my big championship rival, really need to try and outrace him today in this Grand Prix here. And as we skip towards the end of lap 2 here, coming down through this wonderful old Sector 1 section there, nearly running into the back of Kvyat there. We're going to go down the inside in towards the end of that complex and up now into P16 of the Grand Prix here. And at the moment, I was feeling really confident with the car, obviously on the set of these super soft tyres there. Nice fresh engine in the back. I was feeling really confident. The pace was really right there at this moment in time in the Grand Prix. So I was thinking, we could try and attack a few more cars. I think it was helped by the fact as we go down the inside of Carlos Sainz. I think it was helped by the fact that I think we had Verstappen and Ricciardo holding up this field. I think Hülkenberg was having a few issues as well there. So, he was sort of trying to hold us up a bit, but now we've got Danny Kvyat thinking about going for a move down my inside there. We go right around the outside of him, right around the outside of Carlos Sainz there. Unfortunately, an illegal overtake on Sainz there, but Sebastian Vettel parked on the outside of the circuit there. No idea what's happened to him, but, just another race, another streak of bad luck for Sebastian Vettel there. He's had so many issues so far this season. It's been really quite disappointing for him. But let's carry on. We can't really afford to focus on his race. Need to focus on my own here, and we're still trying to apply the pressure to Carlos Sainz as we come through this wonderful old Sector 1 complex once more here. Going to try and go for a bit of a switchback move. It worked on one of the Saubers of Ericsson, and hopefully, it can work on the Toro Rosso as well. But you can just see still the lack of power from this McLaren Honda unit. You can see coming down towards the final few corners. We're just losing time in the slipstream there, but, we're still trying to make, trying to gain time wherever we can, and that seems to be through the corners at the moment in time. Fairly close to the back of Sainz. They're going to dive bomb him and one of the Haas cars of Romain Grosjean there. He's going to be able to hold it up the inside of me, but we're going to go right around the outside of him through the final couple of corners there. Just cut him off down towards the line there, and I don't think Grosjean, he's been renowned for complaining in recent times there. He certainly won't be happy with what I just did there. But, the show must go on, and now we're just closing in on the back of Kevin Magnussen there as we ran a little bit wide through the old turn 1 once more there. And we're still all over the back of this little train here, and this does extend all the way over to the points there. Let's go right around the outside of Ericsson, right around the outside of Nico Hülkenberg there. A tiny bit of contact, turns to the inside through the exit of the corner there, and a little bit of contact with Nico. We've had a couple of incidents so far this season, especially at Austria last time out, where we've come together just a little bit there, where we dive it down the inside now. Up into the points we go of the British Grand Prix here, and as I said, Hülkenberg was having a few issues there, so hopefully, he won't really be able to attack me again. Lock up the front wheels absolutely massively down in towards the final couple of corners there, and nearly running into the back of Daniel Ricciardo here. But, it's odd that we're fighting with the Red Bulls during this Grand Prix here. He's now going to try and look down the inside of Jolyon Palmer there. Magnussen He's going to try and have a look down my inside there, but he thinks better of it. Palmer does end up, unfortunately, being shuffled down into P9 here. We're going to try and think of a move down in towards the final couple of corners there. We now move up into P9 of the Grand Prix here. So this first 5 laps have been very, very successful there. An average of just over 2 places made per lap there. And Nico Hulkenberg's issues have unfortunately became too much there. But Max Verstappen runs wide, slows down his teammate Ricciardo there. We just run into the back of him there. But managed to go past both Red Bulls on lap 6 of this Grand Prix there. Now we're all over the back of Esteban Ocon here, and we're fighting for 6th place in the British Grand Prix here. This is a massive turn of events here for myself. Ocon now just ahead of me here. We're in the slipstream. We've got the DRS, and Ocon must have issues at the moment with that car, because we're able to have a look down the inside in towards the final sector there, and now we're up into P6 of the British Grand Prix here. This is just so surprising. We're actually able to fight for places in the points in the early stages of this Grand Prix here, but unfortunately, you know, that tiny bit of front wing damage, I think, is already starting to cost me just a bit as we come through down towards the pit lane here. There are a couple of drivers already making their pit stops, as I think, you know, Felipe Massa, they're just in the pits. Lewis Hamilton has already been able to come out ahead of me in this Grand Prix here, but Daniel Ricciardo now is able to sort of overcome his issues there, and he's just going to dive it straight past me down the inside on lap 7 of the Grand Prix. Now, that Renault power unit isn't exactly strong, and Ricciardo has just been able to walk past me like I was standing still, unfortunately, there. So back now down into P6 of the Grand Prix. There's a few drivers now are starting to make their pit stops, and on to lap 10 we go of the race. A couple of drivers all over the back of me there, but we're now going to dive it into the pit lane here for our one and only stop of the Grand Prix here. I'm going to opt to change the front wing there onto a new one there, because it was just costing me that little bit of time, and I felt, you know, the 4 or 5 seconds we might lose out, you know, we can easily gain back by having a lot more confidence in the car here. You know, we might lose out on a place to Magnussen here, but hopefully no more than that here. But look at the bright orange pit crew there. Absolutely brilliant helmets there. I'm really quite a fan of that, obviously. But there we are. A nice, fairly good pit stop there. Obviously, Magnussen is able to come at me there, but he doesn't actually gain that much of an advantage as I would have thought there. The big winner from that was Marcus Ericsson, who's opted to go onto a set of the soft tyres. That's quite an interesting strategy from Marcus there. I don't know if he's going to the end or not there. But exiting the pit lane here, we're going to come out down in P18 of the Grand Prix there. But Verstappen and Magnussen are fighting just up the road here, and hopefully, you know, we can try and gain an advantage from this as we skip to the end of lap 11 here, and Magnussen and Verstappen are starting to squabble just a bit here. A couple of drivers might be in the pit lane in these next couple of laps as well, so hopefully, you know, we can try and, you know, gain a few places there. We're going to dive it down the inside of Kevin Magnussen through turn 4 there, right up on the gearbox of Max Verstappen there as well. So nice, you know, we've made another place up in this Grand Prix here, and Max Verstappen has got so many issues during this race. You know, he was so far off the pace, and it was really disappointing for him. You know, Red Bull, he's been right at the very top of the championship so far, but I really think, you know, it's mainly just been now down to just having no real issues, and now that's starting to happen to the Red Bull driver here as we come through this long hairpin corner once more, and Verstappen just able to get the power down a little bit better than myself at the moment. If I'm not mistaken, Verstappen actually had a little bit of front wing issues as we come through the old turn 1 here. Verstappen runs a little bit wide once more there. We're going to be able to pounce on that opportunity there, and that really just proves, you know, Verstappen has definitely got front wing issues there in this Grand Prix at the moment in time there. Back up into P15 of the Grand Prix there, and next up the road will be the Haas car of Romain Grosjean here, and hopefully, you know, we could potentially try and catch him up as we now skip on to lap 14 of the Grand Prix there. As we come through the old turn 1 once more, there's a Toro Rosso facing sideways across the track there. We unfortunately have to take evasive action from Romain Grosjean, and I think that was Danny Kvyat there, so obviously naturally another legal overtake there in the Grand Prix. Not going to complain about that. It was sort of more trying to avoid them, and if, you know, if the FIA let us have it, then they let us have it. But now skipping on to lap 18 of the Grand Prix, and unfortunately the tyre wear was starting to kick in, and the McLaren Honda was really starting to struggle there. Kevin Magnussen able to dive it down past me, down the long front, well, not exactly a long front straight, is it? It's quite a short front straight there. But unfortunately for me, you know, that was sort of the last real thing that happened to me during the Grand Prix. And unfortunately, Magnussen, you know, sort of able to just run away a little bit with a much quicker car than myself. But it got on to lap 25 of the Grand Prix. I think the next car on track behind me was Lewis Hamilton here, and I sort of was in a position where I might as well try and save the engine a bit and end up letting Lewis Hamilton pass me, as well as the fact, you know, he's most likely to win the British Grand Prix here. So it'd be nice to have a photo finish with my fellow British driver here. But down towards the final sector of the race, Hamilton's still about 5-6 seconds back at the moment. You can see I'm just trying to cruise around at 10,000 RPM. Just trying to make sure, you know, that Hamilton does get me before the end of the lap. And, you know, it's not really a huge saving by just obviously letting Hamilton through. Won't have to do one lap less of the Grand Prix there. But, you know, every little helps in this career mode. And if it's sort of like a % or two on any part of the power unit, you know, it'll be very, very useful there. But down in towards the final couple of corners we go. Hamilton still a couple of seconds back here. And, you know, he's closing in nice and quickly. You know, I won't have to stop on the track to try and let Hamilton through. But down in towards the final couple of corners of the Grand Prix, there is Lewis Hamilton. He's going to come through to win the British Grand Prix, and we're going to come through P13 in the end there. Very, very happy with that result, and it was nice to fight other cars for once in this season. But there we are then, guys, the end of the British Grand Prix there. And as I said, quite nice for the first time in a little while, you know, that we've been able to fight with other cars on track there. But Lewis Hamilton able to take home the race victory there. Very, very well done to him, winning the British Grand Prix once more there. With Valtteri Bottas coming through in P2 there. So Mercedes will have made big gains in the driver's standings. Raikkonen third, Daniel Ricciardo in P4 there, with Sebastian Vettel somehow managed to get all the way back up into P5 there. So, you know, that issue that I thought would, you know, really, really cost him in the early stages of the Grand Prix ended up not doing so as much there. We came through in P13 there, and having a look at the driver's standings there. Lewis Hamilton takes the lead overall of the standings after coming to this race, tied, if I'm not mistaken, with Kimi Raikkonen there. So he's now got a 10-point lead at the top of the standings there. Kimi Raikkonen in P2. Sebastian Vettel actually up into P3 there. So that's quite good from him. Valtteri Bottas P4, just 7 points back. And then the Red Bulls 5th and 6th tied with each other there. The Mercedes now 3 points ahead of Ferrari overall in the Constructors. And we're still holding on to P8 overall, guys. But hopefully, you know, you guys have enjoyed this video. Do not forget to like, subscribe for more of my F1 2017 McLaren Honda career mode, guys. Unfortunately, no contract offers to come from this race, but I will see you guys next time for the Hungarian